We are your home theater and AV questions answered. This is AVRant. Want your home theater or AV question answered by Tom and Rob? Send it to question@avrant.com. Welcome to AVRant. I'm Tom Andry, and I'm here with
Rob H.
Mark. First, Mark thanked us for discussing his small home theater room with his skylight. This is the one that we talked about, the condensation. Mm-hmm. He has already blacked out the skylight from the outside with an opaque cover, so heavy curtains over the window. With heavy curtains over the window door, the room will have excellent light control. Mark found a DIY plan for simple bass traps that he really likes. We may or may not link this. Because I don't really like it, to be honest with you. But these plans rely entirely on the fabric cover to hold the insulation in place. The wood frame is not around the insulation. It is only on the back of the panel. It is really there just to provide something to hold the mounting hardware. Mark likes that more surface area is exposed since there's no hard frame around the edges of the insulation, but he's concerned about using nothing but fabric to hold everything. I am too. I think this is a terrible design, and I think just having a little bit of wood around the outside is not acoustically making any difference whatsoever for what you're doing. It's really this,
and especially at bass frequencies, I'm not worried about the edges of the panels being exposed.
No, not at all.
At bass frequencies, the sound waves are so long, they're wrapping right around any type of wood frame that you got. That would not concern me in the least.
This is so much more trouble than it's worth. I mean, you make one wrong move when you're wrapping this fabric, and you crush your corners. Not only that, I run into my panels all the frickin' time, man. I'm walking around my home theater at night, and I'm like, oh, I tripped over something. Bang into a panel, right? And then your corners are crushed. Your edges are crushed. You know what they do with professional panels? They use a system to essentially harden the outside edges, and then they form them and so that they look nice. They have their beveled edges or whatever. They cut them down, they crush them, or whatever they do. I don't know what it is, but they harden them. Wood's a lot easier. All of this is all solved with wood, and your panels won't be crushed or anything. I don't like this. I don't like this plan, and I don't think you should do it.
Honestly, if you want to more or less follow this plan, but just increase the depth of the frame so that there will be a frame around the panel. The rest of it all works great.
And the stuff he's planning on using here, this Roxol, is denser and heavier than the Owens Corning 703 that this guy uses in plans. So this stuff really works well. I've used it. You build the frame. Basically what I did is I built the frame around the actual piece. Like I put the wood up to it, went, this is how far I need to do, chop, screw, and then just kind of slid it in there. I didn't secure it with anything, didn't do any of this nonsense that this guy is doing. All I did was slide it in there, and it was good to go. And it stayed in there for literally ever. It never came out, and I never had to worry about anything. So I would not do this plan. Look at my plan. My plan is better than this plan. My plan's not that great, but my plan's better than this plan. My plan works. And if you've got a router, you can route the edges and make it look really nice and get a little bevel to it. It's nice. I'm not going to read the rest of that. Now he says Ethan Weiner, who we no longer have any respect for here at this podcast, suggested using insulation that is lined with foil paper on one side. His argument is that you could use this to reflect the higher frequencies and create panels that are even more effective at absorbing only bass frequencies. What? Even more effective because you reflected the higher frequencies? What, the higher frequencies getting in the way? That doesn't make any sense.
I mean, if you design this properly with a membrane, like over at Gick Acoustics, they offer the option to get bass traps, some of their bass traps, with a membrane over top of it. The idea is that membrane is tuned to one specific frequency. It will actually resonate at that one specific frequency and act like an active bass trap at that one specific frequency. You're not able to do that when you're just taking the stock foil or stock paper that's built onto some insulation. I don't like that idea at all. No. I 100% listen to the thing that says get the one that does not have any paper or foil on it.
Which is exactly what I said in my DIY sound absorbers for the less than handy man, which is what my article is entitled. Because at the time I was really less than handy. I'm much better now. But so no foil. No foil.
No.
I don't know what Ethan's talking about here with this create panels that are even more effective at absorbing only bass frequencies. I don't know how reflecting higher frequencies would in any way do this. Now, if you're worried that your room's going to become too dead, so you want a little bit of reflection in there, you can get the combination from GIK, absorbers, diffusers, sort of things that do this sort of stuff, but I don't think you need to worry about that.
No. All right. Just get regular insulation. It's cheaper anyway.
So he says he's going to avoid stuffing the skylight with insulation, based on Rob's concern, but could he still hang a bass trap over the opening? There'd at least be an inch on all sides for air to still move in and out of the cavity. So would this be enough to avoid concerns about condensation on the glass? And would having that cavity behind the hanging bass trap make it even more effective? Well, yeah, it technically should. Yeah, I mean, technically, it should make it more effective.
No, I mean, as long as you aren't creating a thermal break between a cold zone and a warm zone, you should be fine. As long as the heated air from inside your house, or the cooled air in the summer, from inside your house can get into the cavity of the skylight and keep that cavity of the skylight the same temperature as the rest of the room, as long as it can do that, it's fine. As far as you just don't want to seal it or completely stuff it and create a full thermal break where you have a cold zone on the top and a warm zone on the bottom. That's all you're trying to avoid. Will having the cavity back there act as an air trap? I mean, all that's going on with an air gap is that the sound wave goes through the acoustic panel, comes out the other side, bounces off of the wall on the other side because there was an air gap in between, and then comes back through the panel again. Yeah, it'll totally do that because it's an air gap. So,
and if you take and you put a little bit of absorption like on the walls with it, I can't remember what this thing. Do we even have a picture of his room? Do we have any idea what this room looks like?
I've been showing pictures.
How come I don't have pictures to look at here, Rob?
Oh, I'm sorry.
How am I supposed to answer these questions?
They were from
last
week. I know.
But those aren't on here anymore.
I know. I'm sorry. I missed one link.
So I guess right here, the next two questions are for Rob alone, and I'll leave the room while these are getting answers, I guess, because I don't deserve to have the pictures. Apparently, I have no input that is of value for this.
You remember this room? It was the small room, and he's got. Oh, okay. Well,
I remember there's a skylight. I remember, but I don't remember seeing any pictures of this room, to be honest with you. So, what would we recommend for a subwoofer placement? Opposing corners, midway through opposing walls. That's the subwoofer placement.
Honestly, I got to tell you, don't move them from where you have them. You already have them at the midpoints of your two side walls. Now, I think he's thinking because his room isn't a perfect rectangle that somehow he needs to move them. But no, you already have them in great spots. You don't need to move them. They're at the midpoints of your two side walls.
I'll have to defer to the person who has the actual picture to look at.
Yep.
He asks how much is the irregular shape of his room affecting the acoustics? Well, since, as far as I know, you have an MC Escher-esque room where everything is topsy-turvy, twisted upside down. I have no idea.
The room, it's only 7 feet 8 inches wide, but then it's even narrower on the one side, right? He's got the little doors that lead outside.
Nope.
I can't believe you don't remember this room.
I don't remember.
Okay. How is this slightly irregular shape effect? I mean, it is altering the modes in your room. It's altering where you have standing waves in your room, like any irregular shape does. Even just having that skylight up there somewhat alters the modes in the room, which is why in the real world, when we're not dealing with a perfect rectangular room like we are in theory, you have to measure if you want the absolute ultimate results. By the end of it, you have to measure the thing. But I mean, you have the room that you have. It is largely rectangular. It is a sealed room, which is the biggest thing.
Yeah.
It's got a door. That's the biggest concern, which is you have a sealed, trapped volume of air that you are able to pressurize. So yeah, you don't have to overly concern because I mean, there's no way. What are you going to do? Are you going to reconstruct the room? I mean, that's all the only concern that you could really have here. If you want the ultimate in results, you're going to have to measure, but you'd have to do that even in a so-called rectangular room anyway. So not a huge concern.
That's right. All right. Whatever Rob said, because whatever reasons. Rob. See, you guys think that he's Canadian, so he's super nice, right? He's not. He's devious. He's devious. Tell you. Nefarious. Want your question answered? Send it to question@avrant.com. This is AVRant.
Now go out and listen to something.